Hey everybody, today's video we're going to be discussing 5 things that drug users go through every day. My name is James Wynn, and I am speaking on from experience as a recovering drug addict. The point of this channel is to provide information to those who are trying to help somebody on drugs and don't know exactly what to do. I want to provide some insight. As a drug user, I want to provide insight to those who are trying to help somebody on drugs. The things that I wish somebody would have said to me, the things I wish somebody would have done for me, the things that somebody did do, when I eventually got onto that path of recovery and getting off the drugs, and just the drug user's mindset, providing some insight into the drug user's mind, at the time that he's on the drugs, what's going through his head, what you're not seeing, and you definitely have to come at it from a point of view where you're not thinking of it in a judgmental term. You love this person, you truly want to help them, you want to help them get off the drugs, and I just hope that this video and this channel can provide a little bit of insight for you and what to say, how to deal with the situation, and just show you what they're going through every single day that maybe you don't see. Alright, number 1 is the itch. And that is something that you feel right away. Usually, the drug user wakes up and the first thing that pops into his head, if he's a hardcore user, been doing it for a long time, is that itch, even before the sickness sets in, especially with using heroin, more than any other drug really. When using heroin, it actually, it causes a lot of chemical reactions in the body, and once that drug starts leaving the body, the person actually gets very sick, physically sick. But even before that, there's that itch, and it's usually the first thing that pops into their head in the morning when they wake up. Am I out of drugs? Do I need to go buy some dope? How am I gonna buy this dope? And it's the first thing. Their brain's already moving. They're already worried about it. Instantly, stress builds up, irritation builds up, and that's where that hostile kind of attitude that is around drug dealers not drug dealers, but drug users all the time kind of comes from. And there's only one thing that's going to satisfy that while before they make it to that road of recovery, and that's getting that drug. That's the number one thing. I myself, I was I guess what you would call a functional drug addict. I had a job for most of the time that I was a drug addict. I was a hardcore drug addict on heroin for 2 years, and I had a job most of that time. I had a couple different jobs because obviously, it's a little hard to hold down one job when you're on the drug, but I guess what you would call a functional drug addict. I went to work every single day, but mostly because I knew I had to make that money to provide my drug habit. Honestly, 90% of every dime I made went towards drugs, and that right there can cause, loved ones and everything, a lot of irritation, and everything right there. That's usually one of the first signs the person's always broke. That we, and to help, I'm just trying to provide some insight on what the drug user is feeling, and that's one of the first challenges he goes through, and actually he goes through all day long, is that itch, until he gets the drug, and I'll do another video on, it goes more into depth about, waking up, the itch, the chase, the thrill of the chase, the rush, and then how, I'll go more into depth about how that on the rush, and how the rush really doesn't get, it decreases over time, and that's what causes a drug user to get more addicted and use more and more and more. Okay, so anyways, going on, number 2, the web is what I like to call it, the web of lies. As most of you loved ones will know, you're constantly catching that drug user in lies all the time. And this is another thing that adds to that attitude of aggression, is that drug user is constantly spinning out these lies to get money, to fuel the drug habit, to cover his tracks when he's been out getting the drugs on the chase. There's just constant lies after lies after lies after lies after lies, and it's very hard for the loved ones to understand sometimes, because maybe that person before drugs never told a lie. They were a very honest person. Drugs change you, and they change you more and more over time, but you can definitely get onto the path of recovery and become that honest person again. And I promise you that's one of the main steps that I inquired into my life, was telling the truth, accountability. But that's number 2. Number 3 is the feeling of no trust. And by no means did the drug user earn trust, after becoming a drug user. If anything, he's lost trust. And he knows that. And it's still, there are times that when that drug user is coming to you and he generally needs, $5 for gas, he generally needs $5 for food, but there's no trust between the loved one and that drug user anymore. And it's extremely frustrating, when you know that the loved one doesn't want to give you the money because they think you're going to use it for drugs, even though this time you're not. And, as a loved one, you don't know. You never know. It goes back to the web of lies. You've caught that person in so many lies if by now you know that they're on drugs. And, there's just no trust. Also, there's no trust with anybody else on the drug. A lot of times drug users have to come together, put their money together, trust somebody to go and buy the drug and come back with it. They have to trust somebody that, the person that's selling them the drug, that they're not going to sell them something that's, garbage, that they're not going to get a high from, or worse, it's going to kill them, as soon as they take the drug. Number 4 on our list is the feeling of isolation all the time. All the time. I can't tell you how many times I couldn't, even if I did get invited, before I burned a lot of the bridges with my family members. There was times where I would get invited to a birthday party, or I'd get invited to just going out to the movies, or one time I recall very well, Universal. And I isolated myself so many times because I knew I hadn't got my drugs for the day yet. And I knew that I was going to be sick, or I hadn't got the money up to buy the drugs. And, because the drugs controlling my life, I would rather go out and find a way to make that money or get a hold of those drugs rather than go out on those family outings that I was invited to. And so that feeling of isolation all the time, even though it's the drug user's fault and the drugs, that's another thing that just adds to that attitude of aggression and depression, is that feeling of isolation all the time. Number 5 on the list, being taken advantage of. And again, I'm speaking from personal experience here. When on the drugs, you find out who your friends are, and that's for sure. Because many times my friends would find out, that I was on the drugs, or I'd be honest with them that I was on the drugs. And it amazed me by, how many times that, somebody wanted me to do something for them, and they would say, "Hey, listen, man, I'll buy you a bag if you'll just do this for me." That person is not your friend, and they are definitely not looking out for your best interests. And a lot of the times, it wasn't that blunt. And even in some cases, it was a family member offering me, needing me to do something for them, and they'd say, "Hey, listen, I'll pay you $20. You come over here and do this for me." When the job itself was definitely worth much more, and or the time that it would take was definitely worth much more than $20. Nobody else would have done it for $20, but they know you would. They could take advantage of you because you're a drug user. You almost do anything for that $20, and in some cases, you will do anything for that $20. And today that's just the a little bit of my insight. Hopefully, this provided a little bit of insight to you from my personal experience on what that loved one, that drug user, is going through. As always, like, comment any questions that you have for me down in the comments section below, and subscribe. Let's get this channel to grow, and I will be making more videos very soon. If you have any ideas for videos, just let me know. And that's it for our time. Thank you very much. Have a good day.